Mask removing. A Devar Torah for Parashat Ki Tisa. Ready for my first prophecy? The term modern-day golden calf is going to make a guest appearance in many sermons this week. Okay, so maybe that wasn't as impressive as I tried to make it sound, considering the term golden calf is a metaphor for worshipping materialism and uncontrolled pursuit of money, and was coined to define the sin that appears in this week's parsha. Or was it? Although the phrase golden calf does appear in Tanakh, it doesn't show up in the context of Chet HaEgel. Instead, it describes the golden calves placed by Yerovam ben Nevat in Dan and in Beit El. The recurring phrase in this week's parsha is Egel Masecha, or masked calf. And now being a week after Purim, and over a year into COVID-19, I'm sure none of you will have any objections to attempting to peck away at this biblical mask. So what is a Masecha? Rashi explains Leshon Matachot, meaning metal. And although the gold used in the verse to create the calf is indeed a form of metal, I'm not positive that this would be the quality I'd highlight in an object made of gold. If it were up to me, I'd probably choose to focus on features such as aesthetics or maybe economical value much more than pointing out its place in the periodic table. Bearing this in mind, it occurred to me that focusing on the metallic side of gold might try to convey stability and permanence, two elements that the Israeli people might have felt they've been robbed of with the disappearance of Moshe. But this is not how Ibn Ezra explains it. According to Ibn Ezra, Keta'am hituch, meaning melted, the mask is named Masecha because it has been melted down, or in other words, the important metallic property for which the idol was named had to do with its liquidity and flexibility. Attempting to wrap my mind around this new concept, how's that for flexibility, I would now claim that what the Israelites felt they lacked after meeting their Creator were spontaneity, or perhaps some control over the course of their own lives. Radak and Rabbi Yosef ibn Kaspi bring us back to a Purimic mood and explain Masecha, that which covers, or in other words, the interior of the calf was made of stone or wood, but on the outside it was gold-plated to make it look like something it wasn't. According to this interpretation, if we were to unveil the hidden desire behind the creation of the calf, it would have to do with the human need to be something he is not, by masking shortcomings and bringing to attention what he wants to show, kind of like we do with social media. Rabbeinu Bechaye ben Asher and Rabbeinu Ovadia Sforno bring us back to the idea of melting, like Ibn Ezra, but for a different purpose. According to them, the Masechot were amulets which were created with the purpose of harnessing the forces of nature that were revealed by certain combinations of the stars. The way these amulets were used was by welding them to combine their individual attributes in order to use them all together. Interestingly, this interpretation on the one hand removes the sin of the calf a step away from the classical form of idolatry. We're speaking astrology, which in the Middle Ages was even considered a form of science, but on the other hand, the very core of this concept is the complete opposite of monotheism, which advocates that everything comes from one source. And returning to the reason behind the sin, the Masecha, amulet, tried to have a uniting effect by drawing the conflicting forces of nature to work together, perhaps an action that in the Israelites' eyes was performed until now by Moshe, literally he who draws, by welding the Masechot into a single Masecha. And there are other explanations. Rabbi Naftali Tzvi Berlin of Volozhin explains that they wanted to rejoice during troubled times. That's why they poured wine, aka linsoch. Rabbi Chaim ben Attar claims that the Masecha was a form of partition, a screen set between them and their Creator, perhaps a natural reaction to a face-to-face encounter between mortals and God. And Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch teaches that the gods of Masecha were meant as a shield to protect against godlings and demons, but if one doesn't believe in them, then there is no need to shield oneself from them. Perhaps this is the equivalent of all the irrational fears that humans have, such as fear of darkness, cockroaches, clowns, etc. And maybe some of our logical fears as well, like masks against COVID-19. But if you'll allow me to return to Purim, we tend to believe that masks on Purim allow us once a year to act free of stigmas and prejudices, free of dependence on the preconceptions that society holds us to, But sometimes, as my wife pointed out when she saw two students with different costumes but the same designer pocketbook, we need to be careful that they don't simply emphasize the fact that we are all different, exactly like everyone else. Did you enjoy this video? If so, press the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'm Dovi Holtz, one who loves Tanakh.